Something more. I need a little more downtime. I need a little more bliss. How about you? Yeah, right? So I think that some people think that passion is a luxury, that it's only for a few lucky people who have figured out how to use it. Anybody else? So the truth of the matter is that your passions are clues. Your passions are clues leading you on your path to your purpose. So we say in the passion test, your passions are like breadcrumbs leading you on your path to your purpose. It is a compass. It's your internal GPS. And how many people tell us to squelch our feelings, our emotions? Emotions, what are those? Energy in motion. That's all it is. That energy in motion, your passions, are clues for just what you were designed to be. And I tell people, go do that. So let's help you find what you're really passionate about and go do that. And I realized I need the clicker. So, everybody has a story. We've been talking about that this morning. Everybody has a story in this room, and we would like to hear everybody's story at some point and understand the journey that you've been on, what got you to where you are today, where you're going from here, where do you want to be, right? So I'm going to share just a little bit about my story and how I got here today. But I was raised in Rochester, Minnesota, in a good Catholic family of 7 children. My father was a high school chemistry teacher, and my mom was a homemaker and stayed at home. And I think in my life, I just thought I had to do what I was supposed to do. What I was supposed to do to get along with my brothers and sisters. What I was supposed to do to go to church on Sundays. What I was supposed to do, what anybody told me I was supposed to do. As a teacher, my dad was, you're supposed to go to school and get good grades, and then you're supposed to go to college and get good grades and get a good job, and so on, right? And my 4 older brothers, they went to community college for a minute. Didn't quite make it through that. My older sisters both had children right out of high school. So when it got to number 6, it was my job to go to college. I was supposed to be the one. And this was my chance to shine in the family and be the one that made it through college in 4 years. I tell you, I thought about it all the time, right? Oh my gosh, I get to be the all-star. I get to be the winner here in this. And I remember sitting on the floor. I can still see this vividly today. Sitting on the floor in the kitchen, and I'm surrounded by college applications. And my dad is sitting at the kitchen table, and he was grading notebooks. Yes, he graded his students' notebooks, and that they took notes and were actually listening to him. So a little intimidating there as he sat grading other people's work. But he looked at me and he said, well, honey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Maybe that'll help you pick a college. And I was like, what? What do you mean, what do I want to be? Anybody else felt like that? The moment someone finally asks you what you want, and you went, really? I get to decide? Yeah. And I said, well, Dad, I'm supposed to follow in your footsteps and be a teacher, right? And he looked at me and he said, no, go do something else. Now, God bless him, he's no longer on this planet with us. He probably never actually said those words, but that was the message that I got in that moment, in that day. And then I was like, now what am I gonna do? And by the way, my friends, that is how people who love you give you advice. From their experience in life, from their view of the world, not yours. And what was he really saying to me? I want more for you. He raised 7 children on a teacher's salary, which was worse back then than it is now, right? I want more for you is really what he was saying out of the love in his heart. And so they love us, and they give us the best advice from their experience. But that's not always your experience, and it's why we need to understand our passions and be able to step fully into those and have the integrity and the courage to do what we know in our hearts is what we are. So what did I do in that moment? At that time in my life, I looked for the next authority figure for advice, which was my boyfriend's dad. Another man. Imagine that. And he was, again, I'm from Rochester, Minnesota. Any Rochester people in the room? Oh, cool. Excellent. So he was the president of the Kaler Corporation. So he ran what was the most famous hotel that I knew of. You know, I would have told you it was like a Waldorf Astoria. Not true, but that's what it felt like to me back then. And he is entertaining people from around the world because that's who came into the Mayo Clinic, right? And so he looked to me like he was wining and dining people, having a good time. Well, this looks like fun. I'll go learn the hotel business. Side note, oh, by the way, I could get a scholarship from the Kaler Corporation to go to hotel school. So there came the money in, right? Now I got some money to go to school besides. That's how I chose my career. And I spent 15 years in the hotel industry and I learned a lot. But all through my journey, there was this little voice in my head that would come up once in a while and go, oh, you gotta go teach, Luann. He became my father-in-law, by the way. My father-in-law came to speak at my college, and I sat in the back of the auditorium and I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna learn the hotel business, and then I'm gonna go teach the hotel business. I did teach at my alma mater a little while, and I went on to get my master's degree, and again, all the students, because I was older in life, and all the students were coming to me for advice on our assignments and what they were supposed to do. And I thought, oh, like I'm teaching them. And that teacher thing passed through again. But I didn't do anything about it, right? And it was well into my 40s before I finally went to a feng shui master. I was really distraught and like, oh, nothing seems to be right in my life. And she looked at whatever feng shui masters look at, and she said, the first thing I can tell you, Luann, is you're a teacher. And I looked at her and I went, I am a teacher, aren't I? I don't teach in a classroom like my dad taught in a classroom or my sister who became a teacher, but I am a teacher. As I stand before you on this stage, this is my favorite place to be, is teaching others and watching light bulbs go off. But it took me a very long time to get to that point. I was just thinking too, my brother had had a stroke and was in the hospital. I didn't even know he was coherent to talk, and I walked in the room and the nurse said, who's that? And he said, that's my little sister. And she said, what does she do? And he said, she's a motivational speaker. I went, huh, I am, aren't I? Like, thanks for telling me. So I hope that we get to hear your stories along the way. I ended up going to find a conference called the Transformational Leadership Council, sitting in the audience just like you. And they taught about a tool called the Passion Test. Anybody in the room heard about the Passion Test? Oh, good news. Guess what? It's not a test, too. All right, they regret the day that they called it a test. It's a process that I now facilitate people through, because in that moment when I got certified in the passion test, I went, I want to live like this. I want to live following my passions. Is what I know is when I teach people something, I learn it myself and I live it. And I said, I want to live this in my life every day, and I know that if I teach it to others, I will do that. I will walk in the integrity of the concept, and I will live it fully in my own life. And that's what got me to step into the passion test. And in the passion test, we say clarity is power. When you are clear, what you want will show up in your life, and only to the extent that you're clear about what that is. When you are clear, what you want will show up in your life, and only to the extent that you're clear about what that is. And it's not really like it magically appears. It's just that all of a sudden, you start to be able to see it. And the resources and the people and the support that's around you to make it happen. Anybody familiar with the Strength Finder? Okay, much more people are familiar with the Strength Finder. So the Strength Finder helps you to identify your top 5 strengths, right? It is a test. If you've taken it, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. You can go online, Strength Finder 2.0, and they're going to try and sell you a $200 package on something for coaching. But if you go all the way to the bottom, there's a $20 test you can take. Okay? And it spits out your top 5 strengths. It will email them to you, which is your strengths are your characteristics, skills, talents that you naturally carry. Powerful tool. I don't profess to understand how it works. I call it the scientific methodology at getting at who you are. Okay, and the passion test, we're going to try and find your top 5 passions. And I call that the heart and soul methodology about who you were designed to be. And if you put the 2 pieces together, it's a powerhouse of knowledge of just who you were designed to be in this world. And again, go do that.